Welcome back to Static Hour. If you made it through part 1 of our Alabama episode, then you already know things got strange fast. But the stories waiting on the other side of this break might be even darker. Grab a blanket, check your doors, make sure they're locked as always, and settle back in. The signal is still coming through, and part 2 starts now. All right, so I am super excited to dive back in. I know we weren't planning on making this a part 2, but it ended up being a 2-parter, which is great. So I don't know how many part 2 episodes we'll have, but we'll see. All right, so this story is from a user that deleted their account, so I don't know who originally wrote it. The subreddit is from Ghost Stories, and the original post is called Alabama Ghost House. So we are diving back in to the story that we left off with, and this was a multi-parter. She had several different stories that she talked about this hell house, basically. So we are going to get into story number 2, which she has titled Little Boy in the Vent. My brother slept in the second furthest room, and it was one of the smaller in the house. This room had small vents close to the door that haven't worked since the home was owned by my aunt. One night, my brother was awakened by sounds of knocking and whispering coming from the vents, which went on for a couple minutes before he saw a pair of eyes staring at him from the vent. He described a feeling of understanding and felt bad before it disappeared, and he soon went to sleep. This happened for multiple nights before we moved out. I'm just going to go ahead and start this episode on why are we falling asleep? Why do we do this?
No, I don't understand. At least in my last episode, the mirror one, like right before this, they were like, I could not go back to sleep. And I'm like,
Thank you.
See,
as a normal human being.
Yes, that's a common response. That's how we react to spooky things that like rattle our bones. A person 100%. In the vent? No, that's not something you go back to sleep to.
You know what'd be crazy is like, I wish that they had a pet, and I mean they might have, but like they don't ever talk about him in these stories. But like I wish they had a pet to see, because I know my dog would be flipping out if he saw or heard something in a vent. So I like always, and I know like I've read a bunch of stories too about how they talk about how animals like just sense things that we don't always sense. So I would have been curious to see if an animal also noticed something in the vent.
Right?
What's crazy though is he never said it was a boy. The story just says he saw a pair of eyes staring at him from the vent, but she titles the story Little Boy in the Vent. So I wonder if more things happened.
I feel like there's more to the story that we're not getting.
Right. And they said it went on for multiple nights. So, like, did the little boy talk? Did they see more of him? I don't know.
Oh, regardless, it's a big nope. It's still a big nope.
Either way, it's horrible. Either way, I hate it so much.
Me too.
Okay, so, sorry, go ahead.
No, it just makes me want to, like, check my vents. I'm like, are they big enough to, like, fit someone? I don't have any, like, wall vents, thankfully, but like
no, I know, and that's kind of what I was imagining when I was reading it, and I don't know if it says there's a small vents close to the door. I'm picturing like the vents that are like on the floor, and like not in like above. So again, I immediately go back to like crawl space kind of thing, and that always freaks me out when I hear those things.
Yeah, why did that make that creepier? Like moving it from the top of the wall to the floor.
It makes it 10 times worse.
Yep.
I know. I hate it. Story number 3. The Woman of the House. This spirit is one of the more violent spirits, and while the story doesn't show it, you shouldn't ever approach her without permission, as it is disrespectful, and my brother learned why. But this isn't that story. That is the next one. They should put that story first, but okay.
Okay.
This story happened in the master bedroom of the house and happened to my mother. It was late at night, and we had just moved in, and my mother just woke up from hearing a noise. When she opened her eyes, she saw a lady in a dress, and the bed felt like it was covered in water. She was too afraid to move, and it took what felt like an hour for the spirit to disappear and the feeling to fade. When we asked my aunt about the spirit, she said that she was happy to have some new company. Okay.
No. New company.
Like, are you that lonely that we need to commune with the ghosts for company? I don't know.
That's a weird vibe.
I know. And the water on the bed, I've never heard of anything like that before.
No. It makes me think of, I think it was like called Dark Waters was a scary movie that came out like maybe whenever we were in high school.
Okay. I don't remember that one.
It was...
Was there water on the bed?
There was water everywhere.
Okay.
Dark water.
That checks. Okay. Bonus story. Making her mad. This happened a few years ago when my aunt still lived in the house. This is the time we made the woman of the house mad. My brother was playing on the Xbox in the living room that we had hooked up when we moved in, and while he was playing, he looked over and saw a figure. Thinking it was our mother, he walked toward it and looked up and saw her. Backing away, he curled up in a ball and started crying, feeling like he was being crushed, and he started to scream out for our aunt. When me and her got down there, she was gone, and he was left there shaking and crying. Other times we've made her mad, she left us with scratch marks and bruises, as well as having trouble sleeping and nightmares, but I'm unsure if the nightmares are actually from her or not. I'm unsure if anyone owns the house at the moment, but all I know is that once you visit the house above hell and you're not a fan of paranormal, you'll never want to return. But if the home isn't occupied, and at the time and you get permission from the past owner or whoever is selling it at the moment, then feel free to visit. The end. I feel like the last part's just like a little brochure. Like, come visit our house on top of hell.
Yeah, I'm down with like spooky stories and stuff, but I don't know how much I'm going to like go out of my way to like actually visit. Like, if I end up in one, like, cool, that I am slightly interested to like experience something, but I'm not going to go out of my way to be like, knock, knock, hello, I came to visit the house above hell.
No. I feel like on this podcast, I've talked enough about like, listen to your gut and stay safe and, you know, don't be stupid. And so I feel like putting yourself in a position to go experience this house would go against every rule that I have set.
Yes. Yeah, especially since you have to ask for permission to like be around a ghost.
No, thank you.
That doesn't give like ghosty vibes.
No, it gives scary vibes.
Yeah.
But hopefully the lady, like, I don't know, hopefully the lady is at peace now or whatever. And it seems like a house that just needs to like stay unoccupied. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I wish they would have like put the address.
I was halfway wondering if like maybe in the comments they were like, go visit at.
Probably, I know. They should do it. Maybe I should check. Someone said that, do you know if they died there, if there's a different reason why they're there? I'm assuming they're talking about the lady. OP said, we tried to speak to them in the past, but most questions they refused to ask. And I was stupid as a kid and didn't ask for their names. And then they said, if you do ever go there and you ask them, I'd like to know their names, especially the name of one of the spirits I didn't talk about. How would we know if you didn't talk about it? Okay. He's one of the downstairs spirits that enjoys staying around in the closet and in the front door. Then someone said, scary stuff. In my opinion, the tall man and the child in the vent mean no harm to you or your family. Chances are they feel forgotten or saddened by the fact that maybe their spirits are trapped in the house. They probably wanted you and your brother to feel their sadness and pain, because there's some reason that they can't move on. The woman of the house seems more angry at the fact that she can't move on, hence why she attacks you when you make her mad. And Obi said, "That's what I thought. The woman of the house is probably the only spirit I've seen that causes physical damage to someone. The other spirits that enjoy being downstairs are closer to pranksters that set up pranks." Okay, so my thought is maybe this was a murder-suicide family where like one of the people killed, like if it was like the woman, or no, like the man, the tall man, if he killed the woman and the little boy in the vent, she's super angry that he killed them, and the little boy is super sad, and he's like super sad because he regretted it.
I feel like the man would be angrier because the emotion that he was feeling at the time.
True. So maybe it was the woman who killed them.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think that that's like what makes my theory is like that might be like what makes a ghost stuck is that they can't move to the next emotion of like
true,
remorse or regret or the sadness. So like my thought would, since the OPU like was sitting there saying that there's more stories, there's more ghosts, my immediate thought is probably the fact that like maybe it's on like a portal or something, burial ground maybe.
Yeah. Who knows?
I don't know. That's
I don't know. I always love like hearing the history of houses and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So now we're going to switch gears a little bit. Every state has their own legends. A lot of states do have like legends that are very similar to each other. The stories locals, you know, these are the ones that they tell and they joke about it during the day, but then they just refuse to talk about it at night. In Alabama, one name kept surfacing over and over again while we were digging through our stories. So Brittany did a little deep dive. So Brittany, whenever you are ready.
It was a full moon night in the middle of summer in Abbeville, Alabama. The air hung thick and heavy with heat, cicadas screaming from the trees while frogs croaked somewhere deep in the darkness. Not a soul in sight on the late-night streets. A streetlight in front of me began to flicker before suddenly going dark. Then another, and another. Strange. Maybe they're on a timer. But then I realized the only sound left was the thrumming of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. The lively southern night had gone cautiously still, unnaturally quiet, until the sound of heels striking pavement echoed behind me. Clack, clack, clack. Slow, steady. I picked up my pace as the sound grew closer, and whoever or whatever was behind me matched my speed perfectly. Slowly, I turned my head just enough to catch a glimpse of something dark flashing in my peripheral vision. Then suddenly, something stood just a few yards in front of me. Tall, dressed in black. Her long skirt billowed beneath her, moving with a breeze I couldn't feel. The woman stood impossibly still, darkness enveloping her, darker than the shadows growing around us. The only light left came from a lone streetlight glowing several feet behind me, but somehow the darkness surrounding her swallowed every bit of it, as if she herself was a shadow, watching, waiting. I stumbled backward, tripped over the curb behind me, and suddenly she was right in front of me. Cold, lifeless arms wrapped tightly around my body, sending a violent shudder through me as fear clawed its way up my spine. I tried to scream. I couldn't. Slowly, she leaned closer to my ear, her mouth hanging open. And then she let out a blood-curdling scream so loud it swallowed the entire night around me. Everything went dark. I woke up gasping in my bed, drenched in sweat as the sound of cicadas buzzed outside my window. Just a nightmare, right? Or maybe
I hope so.
I had just encountered Huggin Molly.
I'm sorry.
No, I love the
If you're
name.
from Alabama, I know, like, if you're from Alabama, I appreciate your urban legends, but you gotta tell me why we're not calling her something scarier. Like, Screamin' Molly, Screamin' Sally, like, Creepy Carol. I don't know. Like, a Huggin' Molly.
Huggin Molly. And
I don't
it makes
like
her
that.
sound cute. Like, you're like, all right.
Yeah, like a little child is what I think of. Huggin' Molly,
Yeah.
like this little kid. I don't, not some tall screaming woman. And like, okay, if you're gonna scream at me, that's fine. Like, you do you, boo. But why do you have to get right up to their ears? That sounds horrific.
Oh, man. And I can
Just
picture it
kill
so
me
clearly because,
instead.
like, my dog is at that puppy phase where he'll, like, get right in my ear and bark, like, ear-shatteringly loud. And I'm just like,
Mm-mm.
to have that sound coming from a being, like,
Mm-hmm.
not only
It's terrifying.
ow, but, like, no.
No, I hate it.
Ugh.
And like, for me, what's crazy is like, I have pretty substantial like hearing loss. So like loud noises should not get to me because I have such bad hearing loss. But for whatever reason, like really high pitched noises are what I can hear super well. So like I just feel my whole body like tensing up thinking about a scream because I feel like I would be so overstimulated.
Yeah, no. And
I
yeah,
can't do it.
especially
Unless it was like if it was a man. Okay, can I say this though? If it was a man who's like, ah, then I probably want to hear him because I can't hear low decibels.
that's what I was gonna say. Because like the difference between a man's scream and a woman's scream is like several decibels of like, whoo,
Yep.
men. Yeah, it's just that.
Yep. Can we get a I'm trying to think of a guy's what is it? Huggin' Molly. So like Huggin' Harold or
Hugging Dan.
like moaning Mike or I don't know.
I feel like men would be more moaners than.
Right? Okay, sorry. Tell us more about Huggin' Molly. I'm sorry that we got off on this tangent.
Well, you know, we're together. It's tangent.
It's important. I know.
But for generations in the small town of Abbeville, Alabama, they've whispered stories like this about a towering woman dressed in black said to roam the streets late at night. According to local legend, Huggin Molly appears without warning, often lurking near the edges of town or hidden within the shadows of quiet roads after dark. Some say she chases people who walk alone at night. Others claim the only thing they remember is hearing something following behind them before being grabbed from the darkness itself. Like,
No, don't touch me.
I'm sorry. First off, like if you're gonna follow me, grab me from behind. Like, that's not a hug. That's kidnapping. Just
That's a felony.
yes,
Okay.
exactly. Whether you are a ghost or a human, that's not allowed. Nope.
I did not consent.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so my question about this one, is this like a widespread legend or is it local just to this this town?
From what I found, it's
Do you know?
it's local to the town. I don't know. It kind of gives off vibes of like other wailing women, screaming women, like throughout like all kinds of different like places. Because I grew up hearing a story from my grandmother about La Llorona. She was Hispanic, and
It's a
it
popular
was
one.
a huge popular tale that she would tell us, and I would be terrified to go out, and I wouldn't walk by windows
100%.
because like I don't want some screaming lady coming and picking me up and hauling me off to be her own
Why
child.
not?
No, thank you. And so there's multiple cultures, but I think Huggin Molly
Yeah.
is specific to Abbeville. But like
Okay.
they've taken the legend and engulfed their town in it. They're
Why not, I guess.
no. Okay, so their like welcome to Abbeville like town sign has a
Mhm.
tall
Mhm.
dark woman chasing a child. Like it's a shadow picture on the front of it. And they even have a restaurant called Huggin Molly that has like a little description of her.
Oh.
And so they have leaned into it fully.
Oh man. Okay, all I'm thinking about is like we're going on a road trip. I'm driving through this town. My kid has to pee, and I like see this welcome sign. I'm like, no, you're holding that. Like we are not stopping in this town.
How far are you from another town?
No. Yeah, absolutely not. Like I just don't feel like, yes, lean into it. That's totally fine. But like a visitor's first impression is that like your town is known for women chasing after children. It just gives a weird vibe. And that's just my opinion. I'm sure the people of Abbeville are wonderful people. And I'm not trying to be mean. We're just bantering, okay? It's just my personal opinion.
Well, okay, but like if you didn't know anything about the legend of Huggin Molly and you're driving through this town,
It's just a
that's
weird sign.
that's a strange vibe. Cuz
It's so, yeah, that's very off-putting. Like at least the image in my head is very off-putting. I don't know. Maybe it's cute.
it's
What if their slogan's like, "Want a hug?"
stay up late, get a hug.
No, we're just all huggers. Like that's it.
I feel like
That's
okay,
so weird.
not to like typecast people, but like I feel like if you are going to have a woman who is going to go around hugging people, she would not be extremely tall. She would be
No.
nice,
weird.
short, and round. Like
I was gonna say like a little fluffy,
yeah,
like a grandma.
Like okay, so the Molly I think of is
That's the woman I
probably
wanna
like
hug.
Molly Weasley.
That's exactly who I was thinking.
That's where my brain goes.
100%. I would hug that woman.
Oh, absolutely.
Any day.
and maybe that's the thing is that like that's why it's terrifying because you're getting a huge hug from a very slender, tall woman.
Yeah. Oh, no. Sorry.
But nobody knows where she came from though. Like there's not actually like a person.
Like there's not a real.
So they say that like people will see her with like a wide brimmed hat, but like her face is like permanently in shadow because of the hat. And they say that she could have been a grieving mother driven mad after the loss of her child.
That just doesn't really fit with me. I don't know.
Another version of the story paints her as a spirit of a murdered woman trying to keep others from suffering the same fate she did.
That one I could see, like warning.
I mean, if she's coming up from
like,
behind and she's
yourself,
like, I'm going to save you, like, maybe.
Right. It's just the aggressiveness in which she goes about this.
But get this one.
I don't like it.
This one will make you ponder some things. Some believe Huggin Molly was never a monster at all, but a stern school teacher from the old Alabama agricultural school who chased children off the streets at night to keep them safe. So she just like carried that tradition on in death.
Forever. Like, okay. That one I don't love either, because again, like, if you're shooing people, then that's like a push. Like, I'm gonna make you physically go away. Not like I'm going to grab you and hold you here while I scream in your ears. Like that I mean, I guess after you let me go, that makes me want to run away. But like, you could have just screamed at me from a distance,
Yeah.
and I would have run. Like, you don't have to. You don't have to come
You
up
don't even have
close
to
to me at
show
all.
me yourself. Just
I don't know.
scream somewhere in the darkness and I'm
Yeah,
gone.
if I hear random screaming, oh my gosh, in the middle of the night, if I just heard a random screaming while I'm walking, no,
I want
I'm
to
so
see the
gone.
police reports of Abbeville. Like, how
Ooh,
many people who are
cool.
there who've encountered and been like, hey, I just had a lady scream in my face and hug me. Like, and they're going to just be like, oh, that's just Huggin Molly, dear. Like, or
Yeah, yeah,
do they
you're
go out and
fine.
have to investigate it just in case? Because, like, that could also be a really good ploy for, like, nefarious things.
Right. Ooh.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know. Ooh, that's so interesting. Now I want to look up police reports. I know what rabbit hole I will go down soon.
I have been through many a rabbit hole, but I didn't think of that until like just now because I was like, I feel like the
Yes.
police reports have to be very interesting because like if she wasn't showing herself and just screaming in the distance, people would absolutely be calling. They're like, "Hey, heard a scream. I'm not sticking
Right.
around, but you should go check it out."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
No, I totally
and
get that.
because of that, like it was really hard to find like modern encounters directly tied to Huggin Molly and her story because I don't think people like it's one of those tales
Right.
like it's not like a Bigfoot encounter where you're gonna like sit there and be like, oh, I saw Bigfoot. It's more of the like you privately tell people that you encountered Huggin Molly and that's a behind closed doors type thing. And
Yeah.
but it was
That's
it was
so
kind of cool.
interesting.
I liked it.
That's cool. I'm like, I am excited for this series because like I know that there are so many states and towns and stuff that have like they're probably, and as we do it, they're probably going to be a lot that we're like, oh, that sounds so familiar, like from this state or whatever. But like it's just so interesting to hear like how it's kind of like playing the
Hmm.
telephone game, like you have this legend here and then like over here you have like a similar legend, but just one detail is tweaked. Did you have any other Huggin
No,
Molly lore before we go on?
that's it. Just
Okay.
don't go outside in the dark alone, and Huggin Molly won't get you.
Okay. So I have two more stories tonight, and they're both creepy and wild, of course. The first one is from the user Science Forbid, and the subreddit is Creepy Encounters. The post is called Was Followed for Miles in Backwoods, Alabama. Around 2007, I was getting my PhD at the University of Florida. I, 30-ish female, lived in Gainesville in a condo that I owned by myself. I had a friend who was walking across the United States. We'll call him Captain. Captain decided to spend the winter at my house, so he got a mutual friend to drive him from Alabama, where he had last stopped walking, to my house in Gainesville. We had a pleasant Thanksgiving, so Captain chilled at my house for the next several months after Thanksgiving. It wasn't too big of a deal because I was mostly staying at my boyfriend's house, but it was a little bit much, I would say so. When it was time for him to go back to walking, he asked if I would drive him back to the exact location he had left in Alabama. Looking forward to having my house back, I agreed to drive him one day when I was out of school. I don't remember what route we took or where it was, but I remember that the drive wasn't that long, relatively speaking. It seemed like it should have been, but I guess it was about 5 or 6 hours one way. That is a long
Yeah,
time. I feel like she was like so ready to get her house back that she's like, I don't care if this takes me all night. Like, I am
I would
driving
get
this
to
man.
you in less than 6 hours. Like, I
I
mean,
know. And I'm just to quote her, she says it wasn't relatively long.
I
So
well, okay, okay,
just
I
kidding.
get the hint on that one, and we will do that soon.
Thanks. Okay. I dropped him off in the early evening and headed back to Florida. This meant that I was driving at night by myself in an unknown part of the country. Conveniently, the GPS technology that we had at the time gave me this extremely backwards route back to Florida. To get to where I had dropped off Captain, we stayed on the freeway for most of the time, and then it was about 10 miles off of the freeway. Well, Google Maps or whatever the app was decided that the faster way was to take me on all these little back roads through Alabama backcountry. Serious deliverance vibes. Seriously. So I'm already a little freaked out and occasionally checking in with my boyfriend to let him know where I am. I've driven at night alone tons, but my history with respect to strangers has made me hypervigilant. At some point, I became aware that a car was behind me. I didn't assume that it was anything weird until the car stayed with me for several miles. Again, I just shoved it off to maybe Google Maps gave them the same weird route. Time out. So, I, as we all know now, I'm a very paranoid driver and person in general. And, like, whenever I'm driving, I will, like, count the turns that people make, like, that are following me. And so I totally get her. But at the same time, I would do the exact same thing as being like, I'm paranoid about it and it's like making me nervous, but I'm like, okay, well, there's obviously a reasonable explanation. Like I just, I don't know.
But when you're in the back roads,
Yeah, that's true. At night, I can't imagine.
Yeah, no, someone following you for a certain amount
So
of
true.
time and to where you notice that they've been following you for a certain amount of time, I feel like that's weird.
Yeah, so true.
That's a red flag.
Red flag. Oh, we need to wave.
our red flag.
Dang it. We're going to get them eventually. We're going to wave them.
Yes.
All right. But because I was paying attention to the car behind me, I didn't notice when I pulled through some small town that I was taking a left at the wrong intersection. There were two intersections very close together, and I was accidentally in the left lane to turn left at the intersection before the one I was supposed to turn at. No biggie, I figured it's 2 a.m. So when the light changed, I drove straight through the intersection and took a left at the next one. The car behind me did the exact same thing. No, here we go. There's our first no.
I'm waving my flag here.
I realized at that point that I was definitely being followed. I immediately called my boyfriend and asked him to look up the non-emergency police number for the area where I was. Good job. I tried to give him my nearest location,
smart.
but like any dude who has never been the victim of any kind of assault, he thought I was overreacting. That's so frustrating. If you were a guy listening to this, just know that, okay, maybe 80% of the time we are overreacting, but wouldn't you rather us overreact and it not be anything than us not, like, underreact and us die or something terrible happen? Like, let us overreact. Just do what we ask you to do. And, like, we can work it out ourselves. And, like, I will be the first one to be like, okay, yeah, that I shouldn't have had to call them. Like, you're right. It wasn't a big deal. But at least, like, you helped. And I don't know. Sorry. That bothers me. Like, that fires me up.
Yeah, just a lot bit. Like, not a little bit, but a lot bit.
Yeah.
Like, that, I don't know, like, one, if you're a woman like me and have an issue calling and asking for help.
Right.
Like, I'm clearly calling and asking for help.
Yeah.
That should be your first clue.
And knowing that she's in the middle of nowhere already, like,
yes.
My husband, I know listens to this podcast, and I'm thinking that he would agree with me. Number one, he doesn't like me driving alone places, especially at night, because he knows I'm not comfortable with it. But number two, if I was, like, and nowadays you can, like, track people's location and stuff, which is so much more helpful. But, like, if he weren't able to look up where I was, he is going to be, like, unsettled until I get to where I'm going. So if I called him and was also freaked out and he's already on edge because he doesn't like the situation, then he's going to do whatever I'm telling him to do, Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like, because I also don't drive by myself very often at night either. I feel like it would be the same with mine, too. Like, if I were to call him and be like, hey, look, something weird is going on. I am being followed. There's even been those times whenever we've been driving in the car together and I'm like, I think this person is following us. And he has been like, I have actually been clocking it too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's not just me. So he knows that I like pay attention to stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
too. So if I'm going to openly say something about it, that he's going to be like, okay, let's at least pay attention
Right.
a little bit closer.
Right. And like the non-emergency people, like they will always tell you, like it's better to just call and it not be anything than to not call and it be something. Like they don't care
Mhm.
if you overreact. They would like you to, you know, just because they don't want, they would rather show up to like a scene like that instead of showing up to a car crash or a homicide, you
Yep.
know, like something terrible, you know? Okay, sorry. That was our rant and our PSA for public safety. Yep. All right.
Yes.
So
What happened?
he thought that she was overreacting. He was in the middle of something and therefore did not look up the number for me. In retrospect, I should have absolutely just called 911, but I didn't want to make a big deal out of something that could be nothing. But that nothing was quickly becoming something indeed, because I'd been on backroads in Alabama without a gas station for a long time and my car was in need of gas. Oh no. That meant that I would have to exit the vehicle at a gas station that was probably not well manned at this time of night by myself. I was low-key freaking out. I too am low-key freaking out for you.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't help that I couldn't see the driver of the car behind me. It was dark, and the car had dark tinted windows. Also, Alabama backwoods roads are pretty stinking dark. I kept looking in the rear mirror, but I couldn't get a glimpse of the driver. I honestly could not figure out why this person targeted me, and at first I laughed it off as some kind of Southern football vendetta. I had a UF license plate, Go Gators, so University of Florida, and was trying to convince myself that the person was just trying to scare me because they liked one of our rival schools. Given that I'm a tall woman, it may have been difficult to identify that I was a woman in the car. But either way, this person was clearly following me, and given that I had to stop my car, I was feeling increasingly at risk. Finally, my backwoods route took me into a relatively large metropolitan area. I was finally on streets with street lights and businesses were still lit up. I started to feel safer. But I still had to stop for gas. I had already made a plan as far as that was concerned, but I wanted the guy behind me to know that I was on to him. So, at the first intersection that was well lit, I turned fully around in my car seat and stared at him while pretending to talk on the phone. I did this for the entire time the light was red. I wanted it to look like I was describing his car and his features to whoever I was on the phone with. That's actually really smart.
Yeah.
I would have been describing it like I would have, at this point, call the cops. Not long after this, I found a gas station that was well lit up. I was driving on fumes and praying that I wouldn't run out of gas in backwoods Alabama. I pulled into the gas station so that my driver's side door was adjacent to the door of the gas station, jumped out, and ran inside. I let the attendant know that I was being followed. Smart girl. And he walked out from behind the counter and walked to the windows and saw that no one was there. Ugh. I was sure that the car had been behind me when I pulled into the station, but seeing that I ran inside, they must have driven off. I still have no idea what the guy's intention was, but he followed me for easily, an hour and a half.
That's
Holy
being followed.
crap.
That
like
is being
100
followed.
miles. It felt predatory as heck. Oh my goodness. I was thinking like 20 minutes max, and I thought that was still a long time. Over 100 miles, this person, like, what? Where were you going before you started following her? That's wild. Thankfully, I was able to gas up my car under the watchful eye of the gas station attendant, and the attendant told me the quickest way to the freeway. My trip was uneventful after that, but I was still shaking and thoroughly pissed at my boyfriend for not taking me seriously. Stay safe out there. Ugh. Okay, so for guys, the story is probably not that scary. As a woman, this is the kind of story that freaks me out so bad.
Yes.
Like,
absolutely. Like, there's certain places that I won't go and fuel up, like, even in town. Because, like, I'm like, hey, babe, I need to get gas. And he knows which ones I'm, like, talking about. And he's like, how many miles do you have left in your tank? And if it is under 30, because he knows I keep it on the, like, left until empty.
That's great. I hate that.
on my little thing. No. It'll tell me you have 30 miles until empty. That's what I keep it on instead of like the odometer.
Oh, yes, yes,
And
yes, yes.
yeah. And I'll be like, I have like 30. And he's like, you can absolutely make it to our normal gas station perfectly fine. If it's under that, he will like drive with me or behind me to go to like the gas station that I'm normally talking about. And
Yeah.
he's like, all right, I will wait.
Mm.
That's just a kind and courteous thing to do.
I was going to say common
That is
courtesy.
chivalry.
Yeah.
Chivalry is not dead in some men,
Yep.
and my husband has it.
And we love him for it. I have one more story tonight, and this one is a really good story. And then it has like some comments that add other stories too, so it's a good one. All right. The user is Buckshot1102, and the subreddit is paranormal. The post is called I Still Have No Explanation for This Experience. My girlfriend saw my doppelganger, and it scared the heck out of her. I will try and give as much detail as possible and keep this from going on too long. This happened back in the summer of 2015 when I was serving in the U.S. Army Reserves. I was stationed in southern Alabama in a transportation company. Sometimes my girlfriend would come with me on drill weekends and we would crash at a friend of hers apartment, which is where this incident took place. This particular weekend, we were in a large convoy in the middle of nowhere, on some back road out in the sticks, well over 100 miles from the city. That was when I got the most confusing, bizarre, and downright creepy phone call of my young life. She was in utter hysterics. She was crying and screaming, wondering why I would frighten her so badly. What the heck was my problem, and asking me how I even pulled it off. After I was finally able to calm her down, this is the story that she told me. Sometime that afternoon, her friend was at work and she was at the apartment by herself. Suddenly, there was a loud bang on the door. Not a knock, several loud, violent bangs. After looking through the peephole, she saw me, but there was something off. She says I was wearing my army uniform. It looked like me, but that I had this very angry, aggravated look on my face. She opened the door, wondering why I was home so early, and apparently, without saying a word, I angrily blew past her, shoulder checking her into the wall, and quickly walked down the hall, taking left into the bedroom, slamming the door behind me so hard the place shook. She was very alarmed and confused about why I was home so early and in such an agitated state. I mean, that is so out of character for me. I'm not a violent guy at all. On top of that, if something did happen to set me off, she would have been the first person to hear about it. So she's walking behind me, trying to get some information out of me, and she opens the bedroom door and sees the closet door slam shut as she's like opening the door. She proceeds to run over to see what I was doing in her friend's closet and claims that when she opened the door, it was completely empty. That was when she had a panic attack and called me. So, time out. She sees him come home. He's super angry, brushes past her, like basically throws her into the wall with his shoulder, and then shuts the door. She like goes and opens the door. As she's opening the door, he's like slipping into the closet and shuts the closet door. And then when she goes to look for him in the closet, there's nothing there. What?
I'm sorry, but like, what? Like,
Exactly.
my brain is trying to wrap around this, and
Yeah,
like,
you can't.
she obviously calls him to tell him that this is happening. Like, why are you doing this?
No, she's
Like,
flipping out.
first off, homie disappeared in the closet, and your first
Correct.
thought is to call him and be like, why would you do that? Where did he go? I mean,
I
I
don't know.
understand being scared. I understand being scared and being like, and not being able to think like rationally about things.
I was going to say rational thought has gone out the window at this point.
But if I were to see Sean disappear into the closet and be gone, I wouldn't call him and lecture him about scaring me like that. I would call him and be like, what are you doing right now? And he'd probably
Yeah.
be like, I'm at work or the gym or whatever. And I'd be like, okay, cool. You need to come home now.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
I, but I mean, like, different strokes for different folks, I suppose.
I know. When you're like in that moment, you just never know what you're going to do.
True. That's true.
All right. Imagine my shock and confusion hearing that story, knowing that I was well over 100 miles away at the time. She finally believed me after I sent her a photo with my current GPS location, which only served to freak her out more. I thought that there must be some kind of rational explanation for what she saw. I will be honest and say she did smoke a little weed here and there, but at the time I know she was sober. Time out. Weed would not cause you to do that. Like, let's just get that clear.
Nope.
And then he goes on to say she did not mess around with hard drugs or drink, and she had no mental illness of any kind.
Okay.
Over the years since that happened, I came to learn about doppelgängers. I don't know what they mean, what they represent, or why they come around. All I know is that they are creepy, and a girl I dated for several years came face to face with mine, and it put the fear of God into the poor girl. Take from the story what you will, and honestly, I don't care if anyone believes me or not. I just had to get it off my chest. Thank you so much for reading my tale. And then he goes on with an update, and he says, I'm amazed at how many of you guys out there have similar stories. Thanks so much for the comments and awards. This is my first ever post on Reddit, and honestly, I figured nobody would check it out. I just want to add a few things and answer some recurring questions. So first off, she and I are no longer together. Not that that's relevant, but we are still good friends. And I called her this morning to talk about the scariest moment of her life, as she put it. According to her, quote unquote, it looked exactly like me. Same eye color, hair color, same height, everything. The only difference between my doppelganger and I was their temperament. I'm a very easygoing dude, and she and I didn't fight or argue much. I mean, she'd seen me angry before, obviously, and even when I was angry with her, we had really good communication. I've never been that kind of guy who gets mad and doesn't speak to someone, especially a significant other, because frankly, that's immature. According to her, this thing wanted in, and from the way it was pounding on the door harder and harder, it eventually would have come in one way or another. That's sorry.
I feel like that's almost worse than like an actual. Well, I mean, like an actual intruder can like hurt you, obviously, but like an entity posing as the one you love that can still obviously cause bodily harm and get in however they want and then just poof into like, why? Like,
Yep.
What kind of black magic is behind this? I feel like that's a place we need a deep dive and
That'd be fun.
like go down that rabbit hole.
We can do
But
it. That's a good episode.
that's terrifying. That like,
Yep.
and her story hasn't changed because OP
No.
said that they called her and asked her about it.
Yeah. This is all from like recently, or like recent to his post, because he called her after the post blew up. She said for whatever reason, and practically ran her over and tried to get down the hall. So this dude was in a hurry and he was pissed off. I'm not a small guy, and she claims this put a nasty bruise on her shoulder as she hit the wall. This is all so very out of character for me, as I never laid a hand on a woman in my life. So that's like the end of his thing. And then here are the commenters. So this one is wild. I mean, these are all crazy. This one says, I have a doppelganger. She was seen many times by several people when I was a teenager. Mostly, she was seen swearing at strangers, and when approached by people who knew me, she would swear at them. She was seen by my uncle, who I was very close to, my mom's coworker, my mom's best friend, and a friend of mine from high school. I think that others may have seen her as well, due to some people randomly being angry with me, but refusing to tell me why. I was a shy teenager and not the type to say anything mean to strangers, so it really freaked me out. I thought the doppelganger was just a teenager thing, but she showed up twice when I was in my early 40s. She was seen by a boyfriend of mine, not doing anything mean, thank goodness, just driving in my exact car. The last time, she was parked in front of his house, talking on her phone, and it was the exact same purple flip phone that I had, very distinct. The second he texted her asking if she was coming in, she closed her phone and drove off. The second she drove off, I was at his back door, ringing his doorbell to come in. There was no time to park my car in his underground parking lot and make it up the stairs and out to his back door. I hope that your doppelganger never shows up again, and I hope that mine doesn't either. Here's a question. Were you going through anything stressful at the time of your girlfriend's experience? I know that for me, my teen years were really hard, and I was putting a brave face on it. I always felt that somehow my soul split apart and the angry version of me was out there wreaking havoc. When the doppelganger showed up again, I was also in a stressful state. Though she didn't seem angry, she just drove around the neighborhood. All right, so that was one person, which again is so insane. Like, these are just wild.
I wonder. So you have the doppelganger in the car. This is just what, like, and boyfriend sends a text message to see if doppelganger is coming in. Like, did they also receive the text message and that's why they drove off? Or it just was like a happenstance type situation because, like, the commenter was, like, coming up the stairs and due to proximity, they left.
I don't know. She said it was the second that he texted her. So who knows?
But she was coming
so weird.
up the stairs from the parking garage. Mm-hmm. So, like, which one was it? I wish I could
never know. All right. So another person. This one is like a little less doppelganger-y, but still really cool. And this was another commenter from this thread. So I thought that I'd read this one too. So this person says, so OP. My grandmother, her name is Billie June, had 11 other brothers and sisters. We are from rural Appalachia, and there are old farmhouses and plantation homes scattered all over the hills and mountains. She told me some of the places they lived would have holes in the wall big enough to throw cats through. LOL, but that's another story. That's wild. That is a wild statement. Anyway, since the girls would share a room and needed privacy, they would hang sheets over the door frames. At the time, only she, who was around 10 or 11, and her older brother, Denver, who was 15 or 16, were the only two home. He was in his bedroom across the hall, sitting in a chair, whittling, while my grandmother was in her bed trying to sleep as she had been experiencing fever and chills. He had to stay home to watch over her. She said about an hour before, he had gotten extra sheets and blankets to cover her and to keep her warm. My great-uncle Denver states he saw the curtain move out of the corner of his eye, and as he looked over, she was just staring at him. He asked, Billie June, you okay? My grandmother didn't answer. He asked again, yet she still didn't answer. Thinking she was feeling better, he stared at his work and said, go on, June, get out of my hair. You know we don't like girls in our room. But she didn't move. A few minutes passed, and he felt her tug on his pant leg. Finally, getting frustrated, he stood and yelled, Billie June, get out of my room. To his astonishment, she quietly turns and floats out of the room through the curtain without moving it. Once he realized what had happened, he tore through the sheet and into the hallway, into my grandmother's room to see her drawing her last breath. She had fallen asleep under the weight of all the covers, and one sheet had wrapped itself around her face and neck. She was suffocating to death. It scared the absolute crap out of my Uncle Denver. Growing up, he was never someone to give tall tales or talk about anything paranormal. He later went on to serve in the Airborne Division. He swears that if, whatever it may have been, did not warn him that my granny would not have survived. He says he knows what he saw, that she was floating barely off the floor and moved so silently through the curtain that it didn't move. As a side note, my grandmother got me into the supernatural. She was a very open-minded Christian and spoke of doppelganger in theory. Yet, she believed those may have served as some type of bad omen. What she believes her brother saw was some type of divine manifestation, her spirit person, maybe on the same level of a near-death experience. As I have researched, I thought maybe astral projection in this case. Whatever it could have been, had it not happened, I would not be here. That is one of the reasons I do believe in the paranormal. That's such a crazy story.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think that was a doppelganger either, but like...
No, I don't think so.
What a good...
But it's like a good...
That was a good story, though. Like...
I know. It's just like a good little... Okay, so for our last story, we actually have a listener tale, and I am super excited. This is from Tristan from the Early Morning Horror podcast, which you should definitely take a listen to if you like all things horror.
Oh, absolutely. I checked out his podcast recently, and it's actually a lot of fun. I've got some good little, like, spooky movie, like, lists going for spooky season, and I didn't know about a lot of these, so go check it out.
I love a good, like, not well-known scary movie. So I'm just going to read his email to us. He said, I could share a short story from my cousin who experienced some creepy stuff while he was hunting. A little bit of a backstory. My cousin has been hunting for over 20 years ever since he was a kid, served in the army, and has seen combat. He told me about how he went hunting last hunting season early in the morning before the sun came up. He heard footsteps crunching the leaves around him, circling him while he was in his tree. And when it stopped probably 50 yards out in front of him, he saw yellow eyes in the dark. And then they started running straight at him. So he pulled his sidearm and fired 5 shots at the eyes, and then they stopped. No animal yelp, no sound of it running away, no more yellow eyes. He stepped down to look for it and couldn't find any blood or anything. It just vanished. He went back home after that and said it was the creepiest thing that he's ever experienced out in the woods. I'm stressed, Tristan, okay? Like, I'm not going to lie, buddy. I almost got up and left before I realized that this is my podcast.
I can't leave. I was sitting here watching you. I'm like, oh, she's going to go. She's going to go.
She's making a run for it, guys.
He said that this was in White Plains, Alabama, so obviously stay away from White Plains. The yellow-eyed disappearing creature.
I hate that so much. That's insane, Tristan.
It's a short little story, but it's spooky enough to keep you up at night.
That one's gonna stick with me for a long time. And Tristan, since you've listened to the podcast, you know I don't like it when things are running. Like that's my biggest the woods. Fear. That was such a good one to end on. Because now I'm scared to go to bed. And that's what this podcast is all about. So.
Right? Oh, my goodness.
So, I know. But thank you guys so much for spending another night with me and tonight, Brittany, as well. Tonight's stories were so good and so spooky, and I'm so glad that we got to do another Alabama episode for you guys. If you're craving even more stories, or if, like Tristan, you have a really good one for our upcoming states episodes, please share it with us and send it in. You can message us on Instagram, just like he did, or you can email us at statichourpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to read your stories. If you want to catch the next broadcast, make sure you are following and subscribed. And I'm Bree, and this is Benny. And you've been listening to the Static Hour. We are going off the air.